My name's Andrew Gray. I'm 40 years old and I'm currently a first officer at a large European low-cost airline. So at the moment with my piloting, I'm around 1,300 hours on the 737 MAX, so just over 1,500 total time. In my airline, you need to be at least 3,000 hours on the 737 before you can look at command. So obviously I'm kind of looking ahead to that and also thinking about the possibility of maybe taking some time out to do some sim instructing. So I started thinking about becoming a pilot at a young age. I was around 3. I was being babysat by some friends of the family, Carol and Tony. And Tony was aviation mad. So the weekend that they babysat me coincided with the Biggin Hill Air Show. And I got taken to the air show and just really fell in love with aviation from that moment. Absolutely loved the fast jets and always wanted to, be a pilot, but specifically a military pilot from that point on. Biggin Hill Airport has played a massive part in my aviation career. It was where I first kind of got interested in aircraft. After I went to Biggin Hill when I was 3, I literally went every year until the air show stopped. And from there, I loved Biggin Hill so much. I went to various other air shows. I got taken to the CAF there just to watch the aircraft take off. I was at the fence taking photos, a little bit of a kiddie nerd really. So when I started pilot training, the kind of one of the first things you do is you go and have a trial lesson, and obviously the natural place for me to do that was at Biggin Hill. So I started making steps to become a pilot when I was around 28, 29 years old, which is a little bit late, maybe not as late as some. Around 28, 29 years old, started to look into and research actually how you do it. And obviously I was struck by the amount of money that it costs to do. So at that point I started to save up so that I had a kind of pile of money, for want of a better word, ready for when I actually started my training. Started to flying when I was 34 obviously by that point I'd saved up a certain amount of money and I was able to kind of use that and earn as I went through the pilot training. I delayed the process of starting my pilot training really because originally I wanted to join the military, but through my teenage years I didn't really have a very secure home life. There was a lot of alcoholism, suicides in the family, and none of that was basically conducive to going to school, doing your education and getting the relative exams done for learning to fly. So I had to go into work basically when I was 16 to support myself, and that meant I pretty much missed the opportunity to learn to fly in the military. So I essentially had to go into work, build a career for myself and get myself to a point where I could support myself, support my family. And at that point I was then able to kind of start looking at other avenues to fly for a career. So that was kind of mid to late 20s, hence why I started kind of doing the investigation on how to become a commercial pilot around the age of 28. So it took me around 5 months to complete my private pilot's license, which is it's pretty quick here in the UK. I managed to achieve that by going to the USA and doing 35 hours there. So I was in the USA for 5 weeks. I was hoping to do the whole thing there, but things didn't really work out like that. So I was very lucky. I came back to the UK, it was June, so then I flew over the summer. And we had a great summer that year, so not a lot of flights were cancelled due to weather. I managed to do the PPL skills test in September. So for me, the biggest struggle working, or that I had while I was working on my private pilot's license, pretty familiar story I think to anybody who enters the world of aviation. So finances was really tough, and I obviously had to mix learning to fly with working. So mixing learning something as big as learning to fly while you also have a full-time job is obviously very challenging. So time management and finances would have been the biggest struggles. So I funded my flight training all myself. I managed to finish it without being in any debt. That was essentially done by saving. So I started saving around 4 or 5 years before I actually started the real pilot training. So I had a decent amount of money in the bank when I started, and then all the way through the pilot training I continued to work, except when I went abroad to do my commercial license, my instrument rating, and my multi-engine. In that time I took 3 months out of work, which was unpaid, but then as soon as I'd finished I came back to the UK and went straight back to work. So in the difficult times, the things that kept me going was the fact that I had a real passion for this. I really wanted to be a pilot. I wanted to do it since I was 3 years old. I wanted to change my life and my family's life, and really I didn't want to just do the daily grind. I wanted to do something I absolutely loved. So it was that focus on wanting to achieve that and change my life that kind of drove me through the difficult times. And also, I think you get a lot of support from the pilot community. So I certainly reached out to many a person throughout the process who kind of helped me out and got me through the difficult times. So the most enjoyable part of the private pilot's license, it's kind of two things actually. So firstly, I think every pilot's going to say this, is your first solo. It's an amazing experience to finally be in an aeroplane on your own. It is all on you at that moment, so I think every pilot will remember that forever. But the thing that eclipses that for me was actually my first solo navigation, where I did a landaware to different airport, because that was the time I really felt like I'm a pilot. I have got this plane off the ground. I've landed it without killing myself, and I've managed to get from A to B. And at that moment, I really felt like a pilot. If you want to become a pilot, my advice to you would be to, obviously, if you're young and are still at school, study hard, try and get the best qualifications you can. And in relation to the profession, do lots of research, go to flying clubs, try and meet people that have done it, start building up your flying network. The younger you can do that, the better. People that have been through the journey are a great resource, and it's those types of people that you should kind of be reaching out to for advice, learning about flight schools, the pitfalls. So yeah, my advice would be work hard at school, meet as many people as you can, and just follow that passion. Do not get up. There will be bumps down the road. There will be great moments and there will be low moments, but continue with it. And if you do that with the right attitude, then you will succeed. So an anecdote that I have from learning to fly would be like every human, I'm a human being and I make mistakes, and we all do. And I think pilots sometimes can be a little bit guilty of not admitting when we've made those mistakes. So I had done a cross country, I was a student, still doing my PPL. I came back to my home airport, having landed away at 2 other airports, and I was full of confidence. I was, amazingly happy. I'd gone and landed at these airports. It was beautiful weather, beautiful flying, and then I went and entered the circuit in the wrong direction, and I felt a bit of an idiot after that. I'm pretty sure if you are learning to fly, you will have moments like that, and if any pilot says to you that they never have, they're probably not the person to take advice from.